Have you ever noticed how some people just seem to have this undeniable Midas touch?
Oh, yeah. Like, everything they do just works out.
Exactly. Like everything they get involved with magically turns to gold. But then, you look at someone else with the exact same knowledge, the exact same opportunities, maybe even the exact same education,
Yeah.
and they are just constantly struggling to keep their head above water.
Right. It's a huge disparity.
It really makes you wonder, what is the actual invisible difference between those two people?
Well, welcome to this deep dive.
Hmm.
Because today
Hmm.
we're cracking the code on your internal financial thermostat.
Hmm. We're diving deep into the psychology behind T. Harv Eker's concepts, really trying to figure out why we subconsciously sabotage our wealth. And
And more importantly, how to master the inner game of money, right?
exactly. And it is so crucial to start by establishing what's really happening beneath the surface here. Like the core premise we're dealing with is that it truly doesn't matter how many, real estate courses you take.
Or stock market strategies you memorize. Right. Or how many hours you work.
Yeah.
If your internal financial thermostat isn't set for a high level of success, you will inevitably find a way to undermine yourself.
Yeah, it's wild.
The whole goal of our conversation today is to examine the roots of your financial life so you can actually finally change the fruits.
Right. So to change those outcomes, we really have to look underground. We have to understand the mechanics of how our current reality is being generated in the first place. I mean,
Mhm.
the overarching concept here is that the invisible creates the visible.
Yeah. And what's fascinating here is the underlying psychological mechanism. It operates on a very straightforward formula. So it's programming leads to thoughts,
Okay, programming to thoughts.
right? Thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, and actions lead to results.
PTFA equals R. Got it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So your past programming determines literally every financial result you're currently experiencing.
Yeah.
We exist in four spheres simultaneously, right? The mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and the physical. But what most people totally miss is that the physical world, like your literal bank account, is merely a printout of the other three.
Okay, let's unpack this because the printout analogy is such a brilliant way to visualize this. Imagine you're typing a letter on your computer. You hit print, the paper comes out, and you see this glaring typo.
Right, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do? You grab an eraser or, some whiteout and you furiously scrub out the typo on the physical piece of paper. You fixed it. So you hit print again, and what happens?
The exact same typo comes right back out of the printer.
Exactly. Trying to fix a lack of money by focusing only on the physical world, like by just getting a second job or aggressively clipping coupons, is literally like using whiteout on a printed page. You have to go into the software code, your mental and emotional programming to fix the typo permanently.
That's a perfect way to put it. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, a lack of money is never actually a problem.
Wait, really? It feels like a problem.
Well, it's merely a symptom, right? It's a symptom of what's going on underneath in that software. The lack of money is the effect, not the root cause.
Oh, I see.
So to begin rewriting that software code, one of the practices introduced is the use of what they call declarations.
Right.
Now, at first glance, stating your intentions aloud while physically touching your heart and then your head, that might sound a bit,
A bit
unconventional.
woo-woo, maybe.
A little bit, yeah. But there is real behavioral science here. This acts as the somatic pattern interrupt.
Somatic pattern interrupt.
Yeah, by engaging your physical body, your voice, and your touch simultaneously, you're bypassing those default neural pathways and establishing a new physical anchor.
Wow.
It basically forces your subconscious mind to actually process the new programming rather than just like passively listening to it.
That physical anchoring makes total sense. So, okay, if our current software code is dictating our financial reality, how did that flawed code get written in the first place? I mean, we have to look back at our childhood conditioning, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
There are essentially three ways we're programmed, right? Verbal programming, which is what we heard, modeling, which is what we saw, and specific incidents, which is what we actively experience.
Yeah, and let's look at verbal programming first,
Yeah.
because it is incredibly insidious. There's this highly revealing story about a man named Stephen. So Stephen was making $800,000 a year.
Whoa. 800,000.
Yes, which by almost any standard is a massive income. Yet his net worth was zero,
You're kidding. Zero.
completely broke. Growing up, his mother verbally conditioned him. She constantly told him that rich people are greedy pigs and that, You should only have enough to get by.
Oh, wow.
So his subconscious mind formed this direct link. Being rich equals being greedy. And since he obviously loved his mother and craved her approval, his mind just found creative ways to get rid of his money so he wouldn't be a pig in her eyes.
That is wild. He didn't even realize he was doing it. The cognitive dissonance was so strong that his brain chose being broke over losing his mother's love. He only broke the cycle when he consciously reconditioned that blueprint and realized, hey, I can be wealthy and still have her approval. He ended up buying her a condo in Hawaii.
Right, which is brilliant.
Yeah, she got to spend the winters in paradise bragging about her rich, generous son, and he finally got to keep his wealth. But it's not just what we hear, right? It's what we experience. Like, there's the story of Josie, the operating room
Oh,
nurse.
that one is intense.
It really is. When she was 11, she was at a Chinese restaurant with her family. Her parents got into the screaming match over money, and her father literally had a massive heart attack and died right there in her arms.
Yeah, and that is a perfect, albeit completely tragic example of a specific incident cementing a subconscious belief.
Right.
Because from that day on, Josie's mind linked money directly to severe, agonizing pain and death.
Jeez.
So subconsciously, to avoid that pain, she would drain her bank accounts as an adult. The brain literally views money as a threat to her survival.
That's heartbreaking. But you see similar patterns in less traumatic, but equally impactful ways too, don't you? Like the story of the wife in the ice cream truck.
Yes. Okay, so as a little girl, she'd ask her mom for a quarter for ice cream. And her mom would always say, I don't have money. Go ask dad. Men have all the money.
So she learned two foundational rules about reality right there. Men have the money, and women are supposed to have nothing.
Bingo. So when she got married, she expected her husband to provide all the money, and she subconsciously believed her own bank account was supposed to sit at zero.
Right, she would aggressively spend whatever she was given just to maintain that identity. I think her husband gave her $2,000 once, and because her internal baseline for like being a woman was tied to having $0, she just kept spending. She actually drove herself into $10,000 of credit card debt.
Yeah, and it wasn't a lack of financial literacy. She was actively spending to maintain her subconscious identity.
Okay, but wait, let me ask you this. If you know your parents were terrible with money, wouldn't doing the exact opposite, like rebelling against them, wouldn't that be the ultimate blueprint for success?
You know, this raises an important point because rebellion seems like a very logical fix, but it is actually a very dangerous trap.
Really? How so?
Well, if your primary motivation for building wealth is rooted in anger or resentment toward your parents, money and anger become permanently chemically linked in your neural pathways.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah. The richer you get, or the harder you strive for wealth, the angrier and more stressed you become. And eventually, your nervous system decides it just wants peace. It wants to get rid of the anger.
But because they're linked.
Because they're linked, your brain subconsciously sabotages the wealth to get rid of the anger. You end up throwing away the fruit instead of uprooting the root. You have to decouple your motivation for money from anger and link it to purpose and joy instead.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting to me. If we look at how this blueprint actively operates in our daily lives as adults, it functions like an invisible financial thermostat.
I love this analogy.
Right. Imagine you have a digital smart thermostat in your house, and it's rigidly programmed to 60 degrees. But you want it to be warmer, so you decide to build a massive roaring fire in the middle of your living room.
As one does.
Right. And you're putting in all this conscious effort, sweating, throwing logs on the fire. It gets hot for a minute. But what
The
happens?
smart thermostat detects the heat.
Exactly. It detects the heat, kicks on the air conditioning at full blast, and immediately cools the room right back down to 60 degrees. Your conscious effort is completely neutralized by the subconscious programming. It's like trying to drive a car with the parking brake fully engaged. You can press the gas pedal all you want, but you're just burning out the engine.
That perfectly captures the friction. Take someone like Donald Trump, for example.
Mhm.
His financial thermostat is set for billions. If his net worth dropped to a mere $1 million, his internal system would trigger a massive state of emergency.
Right.
He would feel like a catastrophic financial failure.
Right. Whereas for someone else, $1 million is a dream.
Exactly. Most people's thermostats are set for thousands or even below zero. They are freezing financially and have absolutely no idea why the air conditioning keeps kicking on every time they try to build a fire.
Wow.
And this dictates whether you operate from a place of agency or a place of victimhood. Wealthy individuals fundamentally operate on the belief that they create their lives, while those struggling financially operate on the belief that life happens to them.
And when you believe life just happens to you, you fall straight into the victim trap. There
Ooh.
are three glaring clues to spot a victim, right?
Yeah.
First, they blame. They blame the economy, the stock market, their boss, their spouse. It's everyone's fault but theirs. Second, they justify. They say things like, well, money isn't really important.
Which is absurd.
Totally absurd. Because if you walked around saying your partner wasn't important, they wouldn't stick around very long.
No, they would not.
Money operates on the exact same energetic principle. And third, they complain.
Yes. And complaining is perhaps the most toxic of the three. There is a universal psychological law that states what you focus on expands.
Yeah.
This is actually tied to your brain's reticular activating system, or RAS.
Oh, the RAS, yeah.
Right. Your RAS filters the millions of pieces of data around you and only shows you what you tell it is important. When you complain, you are literally programming your brain to aggressively search for what is wrong with your life.
You're training it to find the bad stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Therefore, you physically perceive and attract more of what is wrong. You become a living crap magnet.
A crap magnet. That's a brutal image, but so true.
It is. If you want to change your financial thermostat, you have to realize that there's absolutely no such thing as a really rich victim.
That shift in focus completely changes how you play the money game. Like, people with a wealth mindset play to win, while people with a scarcity mindset play to not lose.
Huge difference there.
Huge. It's the difference between wanting massive abundance versus just wanting to, pay the bills or just be comfortable. There's this observation in the material about middle-class people going to nice restaurants and strictly ordering the chicken simply because they're too afraid to look at the market price items on the menu.
Oh, yeah.
They are playing a defensive game. They're so focused on not losing money that they shut themselves off from the experience of abundance entirely.
And when your intention is just to have enough to pay the bills, your subconscious will ensure you get exactly that amount. Nothing more. Victims stay broke precisely because they confuse attention with love. They complain to get sympathy, which feels good in the moment, but it keeps them stuck.
Right.
To break that cycle, you have to understand the three levels of wanting. Level 1 is merely wanting to be rich, which is passive and totally useless.
Okay, useless.
Yeah. Level 2 is choosing to be rich, which implies a decision and taking some responsibility. But level 3 is committing. Committing is the warrior's way. It means holding absolutely nothing back, burning the ships, and doing whatever it takes for as long as it takes.
Wow. And to truly commit like that, you have to completely restructure how you take action in the physical world.
Yes.
You have to stop waiting for the perfect conditions, and critically, you have to stop trading your limited time for money. This completely shifts how you view your income ceiling, because the law of income dictates that you are paid in direct proportion to the value you deliver to the marketplace.
This requires a massive shift in how you choose to get paid. Wealthy minds choose to get paid based on results, while struggling minds choose to get paid based on time.
Right.
Like, a steady paycheck feels secure, but it puts a hard, unyielding ceiling on your income because your time is strictly limited. Consider a massage therapist versus someone selling pens.
Okay, massage therapist.
The massage therapist is capped by the hours in a day and the physical limit of their two hands. They can only scale so much.
Sure.
But if you have a business selling pens and you get an order for 50,000 units, you just call your supplier, utilize leverage, and ship them out. There is no ceiling on results. The fear of losing the guaranteed hourly wage is what keeps most people trapped way below their potential.
So how do you get out there and start delivering those massive uncapped results? You have to aggressively focus on opportunities rather than obstacles. And there's a strategy for this called ready, fire, aim.
I love this one.
Me too. There's the story about a guy who wanted to open a dessert cafe. Instead of sitting at home for 3 years researching the pastry industry from the outside and, writing hypotheticals.
Which is what most people do.
Exactly. Instead of that, he went and got a minimum wage job as a busboy at Mother Butler's Pie Shop. He got paid to learn the business from the inside out. He calls this getting into the corridor.
A quarter, yeah.
Right. And because he was physically in that corridor, moving and interacting, a baker there eventually introduced him to gravity guidance inversion boots.
Those things Richard Gere hung upside down in.
Yes, those exact ones. That completely random connection led him to start a fitness store and make his first million. He never would have found that opportunity if he hadn't just jumped into the pie shop first.
Yep.
And once you're in the corridor, you have to promote yourself. Like Robert Kiyosaki famously points out, he is a best-selling author, not a best writing author. Leaders promote. But hold on, let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay, go for it.
Ready, fire. Aim sounds a bit reckless. What happened to taking educated risks and planning?
It's a common hesitation, for sure. But ready, fire, aim doesn't mean acting blindly or, throwing your life savings at a whim.
Okay.
It is a profound acknowledgement of how reality actually operates. Life is a winding river, not a straight, predictable line. You cannot possibly see what is past the next bend in the river until you physically paddle up to it.
Oh, I see.
Taking immediate action gets you into that corridor where unforeseen doors, conversations, and opportunities suddenly reveal themselves. Information reveals itself in motion.
Information reveals itself in motion. That's good.
That is infinitely more effective than styling out on the shore, paralyzed by overanalysis, under the guise of preparing.
Okay, so let's say you take that massive action. You jump in the river, you get into the corridor, you proudly promote yourself, you start getting paid for your results, and the wealth finally starts flowing. You're still going to run into the final and often fatal hurdle, keeping it.
Keeping it is the hardest part.
You have to expand your internal capacity to receive and hold on to abundance without feeling guilty or overwhelmed.
This requires you to become bigger than your problems. Imagine a scale from 1 to 10. If you are a level 2 person in terms of your character, emotional regulation, and resilience,
Okay, level 2.
right? A level 5 problem is going to feel like a massive, insurmountable catastrophe.
Yeah.
It will crush you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if you do the internal work to grow yourself into a level 8 person, that exact same level 5 problem becomes a minor nuisance. It barely registers. You have to
Wow.
expand your container for wealth. If your internal container is small and a huge amount of money pours in, it will simply spill out over the edges. You will subconsciously make terrible investments or overspend just to lose the excess money so it matches your container size.
And part of expanding that container is dealing with our deep-seated unworthiness. We have this ingrained punishment conditioning from childhood that makes us feel like we don't deserve good things, which makes us terrible receivers.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a highly amusing tactic suggested for this. Whenever you face a problem or feel overwhelmed by your own unworthiness, you should literally point to yourself and scream, "Mini me, mini me."
Yes.
It sounds totally ridiculous, but as a psychological pattern interrupt, it snaps you out of that cortisol-driven instinct to shrink yourself. It reminds you that the problem isn't actually big, you were just choosing to be small in that moment.
It is absurd. But that absurdity is exactly what breaks the psychological tension. To truly understand receptivity, consider the analogy of camping under a tarp in the pouring rain.
Okay.
Nature is incredibly abundant, but it doesn't discriminate. The rain falls, and if it can't land on the dry spot under the tarp, it doesn't just disappear. It simply rolls off and pools heavily in a puddle nearby.
Right.
Money operates the exact same way.
Mm.
It is in total abundance, circulating endlessly. But if you are not willing to receive it, like if your tarp is blocking it, it simply flows to someone else who is willing to receive it.
This completely changes how we handle compromises, too. Scarcity tells us we have to choose, but an abundance mindset eradicates either thinking entirely in favor of both.
Well, exactly.
Like, there's a great example of a guy buying a vacation home in Arizona. His budget was strictly under $1 million, but the houses he truly wanted were well over $1 million.
So what did he do?
Well, instead of compromising on a house he didn't love, or irresponsibly blowing his budget, he held out for both. He stayed in the corridor, kept looking, and eventually found the perfect house where the owners were desperate to sell and dropped the price by $200,000, bringing it right under his budget. He had his cake and ate it too.
That is the perfect example of both thinking.
And a huge part of cultivating that abundance is admiring the rich rather than resenting them. Like, there's a stark contrast between having your Jaguar keyed in a neighborhood that resents wealth versus attending a BBQ in a wealthy San Diego neighborhood where the guests were literally lining up to write massive checks for a local charity. It totally shifted his perspective. He adopted the Huma philosophy. Bless that which you want.
Bless that which you want.
If you want wealth, you have to bless those who have it.
Because that resentment is so toxic. If you view wealthy people as inherently evil or greedy, your subconscious will never allow you to become wealthy because you fundamentally do not want to be evil.
But wait, let me ask the question everyone is probably thinking. We're constantly told by society, by almost every cultural narrative, that it is better to give than to receive. Doesn't becoming an excellent receiver, like we're talking about, fundamentally make you selfish?
This is one of the most pervasive and damaging myths out there, and we can dismantle it using basic logic.
Okay, let's do it.
Think about the mechanics as a transaction. For every single giver, there must be a receiver. They are two halves of the exact same whole.
Right.
If you refuse to receive, you are actually ripping off the giver. You are denying them the joy, the fulfillment, and the energetic return of giving. It blocks the entire flow.
That makes a lot of sense when you put it like that.
Furthermore, money itself is entirely neutral. It is simply an amplifier. It only magnifies what you already are.
So if you're a jerk,
If you are a mean, selfish person, money gives you the power to be meaner and more selfish on a larger scale. But if you are a kind, generous, purpose-driven person, having more money simply provides you with the tools to be much kinder and far more generous on a grander scale.
so what does this all mean? Let's zoom out and look at the big picture. Mastering the inner game of wealth is not about spreadsheets or obscure real estate tactics or, memorizing stock charts.
No.
It is fundamentally an inside job. It requires going underground to rewrite your childhood conditioning. You have to reprogram that smart thermostat to abundance so the AC stops kicking on every time you build a fire. You have to stop playing the victim, focus on opportunities, jump into the flowing river of the corridor, get paid for your actual results, and radically expand your internal container so you can receive massive wealth without a shred of guilt.
And the application of this knowledge is where the transformation actually happens. Going forward, I'd strongly encourage you to actively observe your thoughts. Today, whenever you hear yourself voice a complaint, or whenever you face either a limitation, just stop yourself in your tracks.
Interrupt the pattern.
Yes, intentionally choose both. Look for the hidden opportunity. Refuse to be a magnet for negativity.
I love that. And I want to leave you with a brand new thought to ponder, something that builds on everything we've unpacked today.
Well, what is it?
If our individual financial realities are just physical printouts of our internal subconscious blueprints, what does that mean for our society at large? Think about it. If millions of people collectively rewrote their blueprints to decouple wealth from fear, greed, and anger, and instead linked it strictly to purpose, joy, and massive contribution, could we literally reprogram the global economy to solve the world's biggest problems?
Wow, that's a powerful thought.
It's entirely possible that the key to changing the world starts with changing your own financial thermostat. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the inner game of wealth. We'll see you next time.